Hello, everyone. I'm Kira Phillips. Thanks so much for streaming with us here on ABC News Live. Firefighters battling a growing blaze, shutting down a major highway and forcing evacuations in California. This hour, President Reagan's ranch now threatened by the fire. The FDA set to meet this week on booster shots for millions of people who received the Moderna and J&J vaccines. So far, the booster only approved for Pfizer. Texas Governor Greg Abbott issuing an executive order banning vaccine mandates, saying the COVID-19 vaccine is safe, effective, and our best defense against the virus. But he feels it should remain voluntary and never forced. Las Vegas Raiders head coach Jon Gruden resigning after a bombshell New York Times report detailing he used inappropriate and racist language in emails. While working for ESPN, Gruden reportedly called NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell a homophobic slur and a, quote, clueless anti-football expletive. Gruden releasing a statement. I love the Raiders and do not want to be a distraction. Thank you to all players, coaches, staff, and fans of Raider Nation. I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt anyone. And Jeopardy! Crowning a new champion, the second longest winning streak in the show's history coming to an end. Matt Amodio finally losing after 38 straight wins, but don't cry for him. He walked away with about $1.5 million. Ken Jennings still holds the record for longest winning streak with 74 games. But we begin with Amazon announcing a major change in its work-from-home policy for tech and corporate workers, and it could have a ripple effect in other corporations and industries. Chief Business Correspondent Rebecca Jarvis has all the details. Hey, Rebecca.
This is a significant move from one of the biggest employers in the country, which now says you can work remotely as long as you're able to commute to the office on occasion, and your team says it's okay. In a note to employees, the CEO of Amazon says teams now will have discretion over determining whether or not they work in the office or they work from home, and the manager directors on those teams will determine whether it's appropriate. Now, this is a big change for Amazon. Just weeks ago, they were telling employees they needed to return to the office at least 3 days a week starting in January, but it definitely makes the company more competitive with its tech peers, especially at a time when job openings are plentiful at record amounts, millions of job openings, and a near record number of people are voluntarily quitting their jobs and looking elsewhere. Other companies like Apple and Google and Microsoft have also recently adjusted their policies, and there is a ripple effect to these things. First of all, you have the whole ecosystem. Surrounding these corporations, these big offices, the restaurants, the gyms, the cafes. They get less foot traffic when people are in the office less. At the same time, there's also the ripple effect on competition, on other businesses who look at their policies and say, you know what? We need to be more flexible because that's what our competitors are doing. Kira?
All about being flexible. Rebecca, thanks. Well, Lego is the latest company to vow to remove gender bias from its toys, as research shows stereotypes can have negative effects on young children. Our Janae Norman has the details for us.
Lego is letting go of gender stereotypes, working to make the famous toy pegs more inclusive by getting rid of gender references. A study commissioned by the company found kids hold stereotypical gender-associated attitudes around toys and play, with 4 in 10 girls and nearly 3 in 4 boys reporting it makes them uncomfortable to play with opposite-gendered toys. The survey also finding parents 4 times more likely to encourage girls to engage in dress-up than boys, and twice as likely to encourage boys to do coding than girls, noting most boys and girls agree with the idea that some activities are gender-specific, those attitudes leaving a lasting impact.
What we found is not only from the parents, but also from the boys, that they were worried that they would be teased or made fun of for playing with toys that would be, say, associated with girls. What we found with girls, they felt more confident than boys to engage in a variety of playing activities.
Lego following in the footsteps of other companies like Hasbro, which rebranded the iconic Mr. Potato Head earlier this year, introducing a gender-neutral potato head option with diverse body parts and clothes. And Mattel in 2019 releasing the first gender-neutral doll. This all coming on the heels of Target's 2015 announcement that stores would de-gender toy aisles, a move that paved the way for legislation signed into law in California over the weekend, requiring large retailers to provide gender-neutral toy sections.
This isn't a one-size-fits-all solution for every family, and parents should encourage what their kids love and what they're interested in. We want the world to be open to our children. We don't want them to feel limited by their gender. Toy companies are responding to this growing demand.
And Lego says the company is putting more effort to ensure that they erase the bias that parents have toward the Lego brand, like thinking it's for boys, while paving the way to ensure that biases are removed across the toy industry. Kira.
I'll tell you what, my twins, both a boy and a girl, love their Legos. Coming up, we've got a whole lot of sports headed your way. 6-time Olympic gold medalist and track star Allyson Felix joining us live to talk about the incredible achievements of female athletes and the annual salute to women in sports. Also, NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman joining us to talk about the upcoming season and keeping rinks COVID safe. And welcome back. We're so glad you're streaming with us here on ABC News Live. Well, she is the most decorated U.S. Olympic track athlete in history. And now she's using her platform to empower women and girls everywhere. Not only is Allyson Felix an all-star Olympic athlete, but also an all-star mom to her daughter, Cameron. She's constantly encouraging others to dream big. And now she's part of the annual Salute to Women in Sports, celebrating the extraordinary achievements of athletes and leaders in women's athletics and the girls they inspire. It is an honor to have Allyson here with us now. Allyson, so good to see you.
Oh, so nice to see you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's a treat for all of us. All right. Okay, top athlete and supermom, I want to hear the truth from you, okay? As successful women and moms, we get a lot of mixed messages. I've heard, oh, Kira, you can have it all. Oh, no, Kira, you can't have it all. I want to hear what you have to say.
I mean, I believe that we should go after it all. It's obviously really hard to do all of the things. But I think when you're supported in the right way, that there's no way that we should have to sacrifice any of our dreams to have a family. We can integrate both. And, I'm out here trying to do it.
And you are doing it. What do you think? What was that extra support you had? What were a couple of the things that made it possible for you to do what you did, Allyson?
Of course, family support is huge. I fought for maternal policy, and for employment. There's so much that you have to be supported, not only at work, but at home. So I think once those two things align, it really allows you to go after it.
So we're going to talk more about that in a minute and what you've done for maternity rights. You sure left your mark on the 2020 Olympics, 11 medals, leaving you with more medals than any American in track and field history. But you say it's not all about the medals and the winning. So what is it that motivates you?
Yeah, this was my 5th games, and it was different than any other because I felt like I was a representation for women, for mothers. I was out there. I was told that my story was over, and I know that so many women and just people in general can relate to that. And so it was so fulfilling to get back on that Olympic stage and be able to do what I knew that I could.
Well, let's get back, Supermom, to what we were talking about. You went up against one of the most powerful sponsors in sports, Nike, and you did it for the sake of maternity protections that you and other moms were denied. Has enough been done since you took on that challenge?
Yeah, I was really happy that that policy was changed. I was disappointed that it took such a fight. I left over that not happening, and such a fight for it to happen. But I think that there's definitely more that we can do to support women athletes, women moms, so that they can be able to compete, have their best performances, be able to travel with their children, all these things, for us to have our best performances on the other side of motherhood.
What's your advice to other athletes, Allyson, that may be scared to mess with a sponsorship or an endorsement or go up against, another coach or teammates that might not agree? What do you say to them if they really want to do something for just the sake of being a mother and an athlete and making a dent in this world?
Totally. I mean, I can relate because I was terrified. I think it's a very personal journey to find your voice. But whenever you get there, speak up, speak your truth. And that might be on a big platform, or that might be, within your small circle of where you work and your family. Tell somebody so that they can amplify what the situation is.
All right. Well, tomorrow night you are taking part in the annual Salute to Women in Sports. As one of our favorite trailblazers, your message now you said just a moment ago what you would say to mothers, but what about young girls who are dreaming big and they do want to have it all and they want to follow your footsteps? What do you say?
I tell them to go after it. And that's why I love the annual Salute to Women in Sports, because it celebrates those women and girls. And it shows how far we've come, but still there's work to do. So it's going to be tomorrow, 8 p.m. It's going to be on yahoosports.com. And everyone can go to womensportsfoundation.org to get involved, to donate. This money is going to go to help community sports, female athletes, coaches, and youth. And so it's just really a great cause.
All right, before I let you go, do you have Cameron on any type of circuit training yet? Do you go for runs together? I mean, seriously, I know you're doing something. Please tell me.
I'm just letting her run wild. She's doing all of the things, and I am getting the best workout trying to keep up with her.
There you go. I can attest to that. Allyson Felix, thank you so much. Really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. The annual Salute to Women in Sports will air tomorrow, as Allyson mentioned, 8 p.m. Eastern on yahoosports.com. And you can go to womensportsfoundation.org to learn more, as Allyson just mentioned as well. All right. Well, a year ago, we were not sure what hockey season was going to look like, but now we are finally getting a puck drop. It's game on for slap shots, flying biscuits to the buckets, and lighting the lamp. The NHL season kicks off today with an 82-game schedule, the first regular season since the start of the pandemic. Joining me now, NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman. Did I do okay with my lingo, Gary?
You were terrific, and it's great to be with you, so thank you.
It is a pleasure. Well, I'm married to a Canadian, and he always told me every Canadian is born with the doctor pulling them out by the hockey skates. So I don't know how, Yeah.
In Canada, you learn to skate before you learn to walk.
Exactly. There you go. I've heard that too. All right. Well, first of all, overall, it's so great that the season is kicking off. Clearly, our family is very excited about it. It's something that we've always been glued to the tube for. How excited are you about this season finally kicking off?
We are thrilled because, as you mentioned, we had to finish the 1920 season in a bubble once the pandemic started and we had to shut down, and we were able to finish in bubbles. Then last season we started late in January with a 56-game schedule, and we had to realign because, as you probably know from your family, we couldn't cross the Canadian border, so we had to only have the Canadian teams play the Canadian teams and the U.S. teams play the U.S. teams. And now it's October, we're ready to go. We're scheduled for each team playing 82 games and then full playoffs. So we're looking for normalcy, and not just us, but I think the world is feeding off a sense of getting things back to normal.
Absolutely. And yes, you are so right. Every Canadian I know cannot wait. So across the board, Gary, the world
and the
of
Americans.
sports. And the Americans, of course. Okay, that's right. I'm Canadian and American here. I've got both. I must speak for both. You're right. The world of sports, it's taking extra precautions with COVID to keep fans and players safe. So I have to ask you about Evander Kane, forward for the San Jose Sharks. He's being investigated now by the NHL after allegedly using a fake COVID-19 vaccine card. What's your reaction to that, Gary? And are you concerned about other players doing the same thing?
Well, let me give you the broader answer first, and then I'll address the Evander Kane situation.
You got it.
All but 4 of our roughly 800 players have been vaccinated. Not 4% not vaccinated, 4 players. That is remarkable. All of our officials have been vaccinated. All of our off-ice personnel who come in contact with our players have been vaccinated. For us, health and safety is the priority. Everything we did for the last 18 months, whether it was the bubbles, whether or not it was the protocols and all the testing we did, it's about the health and well-being of our players, our personnel, and the communities in which we play. And it's a testament to the players that they have responded as well as they have. With respect to Evander Kane, we are in the process of finishing up an investigation. I haven't seen the results yet, but I will shortly, and we will respond in whatever is appropriate once we get to the bottom and understand all of the facts as to what may or may not have transpired.
Got it. Point well made. The NHL also expecting 30 of its 32 teams to open arenas at 100% capacity. That's pretty amazing. How will the NHL handle vaccine requirements with games taking place across the country and many states also having different policies?
Well, with respect to what fans can attend, it may be as many as 32 buildings that can host 100%. That's all determined by the health authorities in the local jurisdictions, and we will comply with whatever's required. Some places are requiring that fans be vaccinated. Some are requiring vaccinations and masks. That's going to be jurisdiction by jurisdiction.
Got it. Well, we are happy to report that the NHL is returning to ESPN for the first time in 17 years after a new deal across ESPN, ABC, and Hulu. ESPN actually tweeted Gary saying that the last time the NHL was on ESPN, Burned by Usher was the #1 song, and Lightning was burning it up as the Stanley Cup champions even back then in 2004. Do you remember the song? Was that like
yes,
playing on your
but
radio?
it also in that visual said the Tampa Bay Lightning were Stanley Cup champions, and they're now a 2-time defending Stanley Cup champion going for the proverbial hat trick.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay. And so, I mean, clearly players have had to they're coming up to you and telling you they're clearly very excited about the season. Tell me what they've been saying to you, Gary, before we go, and just how special this season is going to be for all of you and all of us fans as well.
Well, first of all, as I mentioned at the outset, any sense of returning to normalcy is great for everybody, whether it's our players, our game, our fans, or society as a whole. Our players are excited, particularly those who are going to be competing in the Olympics, about having a best-on-best competition in the middle of the season. And our players, our fans love and miss our game. But most importantly, having spent time in the bubble and last season in a number of buildings that didn't have fans at the time, our players and our game get an incredible amount of energy from our fans in the building. As people say in person, there's no better experience than being at an NHL game. Returning to all of that is great. And after 17 years, returning to ESPN has everyone very excited about being on the world leader in sports.
Thanks so much for joining us, Gary. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. And as Gary mentioned, you can watch the season opener tonight between the Penguins and, as he reminded us, the 2-time reigning Stanley Cup champions, the Tampa Bay Lightning, tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN, ESPN Plus, and Hulu. Well, coming up, we are heading to Texas, the front line in America for the debate over COVID vaccinations, and one rural county that was able to get almost every single person get a shot. But it's another story in another Texas community, a tale of two cities when we return. And welcome back to ABC News Live. We are now headed to Texas, the front line in America for the debate over vaccinations, where one rural county was able to get nearly every person to get a shot, while in another Lone Star State county, it's a far different story. Will Carr has this tale of two counties.
As the debate to get vaccinated wages on across the country, there's a part of South Texas where the wind is strong. The horses graze calmly on the farms, and the sunsets sprawl across the border. As Lone Star counties go, this rugged, remote area lacks cell phone service in spots, and GPSs tend to run out of directions. But when it comes to human interaction, communication has never been stronger. This is Presidio County, home to Texas's highest vaccination rate. Nearly every eligible resident, just over 7,800, has been fully vaccinated. That's 98% of the county, including Rosendo Scott, a Vietnam vet who's battling ALS.
What was your level of trust with what your healthcare providers were telling you about getting the vaccine?
Oh, it was very high. I'm a believer in science.
Presidio County, home to Marfa, a community of artists, runs blue. Residents voted for Democrats in all of the recent presidential elections, but it's not 98% blue, not even close. In fact, when it comes to health, residents don't see colors, only distance. Many live hours from the closest hospital. That in and of itself has been a key reason why they've been so eager to roll up their sleeves.
We're so isolated that we could easily just fall like dominoes if something wasn't done.
Scott's wife, Allyson, is his chief caretaker. She's also the high school principal.
We've not had any COVID cases since school started, and that's in our pre-K through 12th grade.
And what do you attribute that to?
I think the high vaccination rate.
What the COVID pandemic has done is rural healthcare organizations, they're like small football teams. We have very few, if anybody, on the bench to pull for relief. We had to shut down our medical and dental service lines and our behavioral health service lines on these days that we just, did 500 or 600 vaccines at a time because we didn't have the people to pull off the bench.
According to Dr. Adrian Billings, it's taken painstaking persistence to get shots into arms.
This one lone hospital serves this vast 12,000 square mile area that has about 25,000 residents living in this area. It's a 90 to 150 mile one-way trip to get to the emergency room. So I think some of that, just recognizing how limited we are for health care, contributed to our high vaccination rates.
More than 620 miles away in Lamar County, on the other side of Texas, it's a different story. Only 40% of residents here are fully vaccinated, among the lowest in the state. The county seat is Paris, Texas, home to an Eiffel Tower with a cowboy flair and a small-town newspaper that keeps a finger on the pulse of public sentiment. We stopped by to talk to managing editor Clark Bird.
Why do you think so many people here are hesitant to get vaccinated?
A lot of it has to do with distrust. There's distrust in the government, distrust in the vaccine makers, distrust based on misinformation that's found on social media sites.
Bird has been printing op-eds urging residents to talk to their doctors, but due to a pre-existing health condition, Bird tells us he has not been vaccinated due to his doctor's advice.
I've taken a back seat on the vaccine, and I continue to mask up, hand sanitize. I take all the precautions that were advised prior to the vaccination being available. Sometimes I'm the only one with a mask, and that's concerning, but I maintain my distance with people. If I turn down an aisle at Walmart and there's a bunch of people, I will avoid that aisle and wait until it clears out.
Casey Cole is in this community and is one of many who has decided not to get a shot.
Do you know anybody who's been severely sick or died around here?
I do know a few people who have been sick. My wife has actually been one of them who actually caught it, and she is not vaccinated.
Did that give you pause at all, or?
It did not. You know, we prayed about it, and we firmly believe that a lot of faith goes involved in a lot of things we do.
I have these spurts of just, and they're my neighbors, you know, so we try to have grace and do the best we can and keep educating and keep them healthy.
Dr. Amanda Green is the Lamar County Health Director and the local hospital's Chief Medical Officer.
There are some people that I think they'll just never change no matter what.
From Dr. Green's perspective, that can be a fatal choice. She points to Ronnie Stanley, the husband of a local nurse who chose not to get vaccinated. He wound up in the ICU and died at the end of September.
No one is invincible to this disease. It doesn't care. It doesn't discriminate.
Amanda Stanley documented on social media her husband's battle with COVID.
You don't have to die. Your story doesn't have to end like ours. Ronnie and I were married just 11 months ago, and I'm having to deal with him not being here. I'm going to visit his gravesite on our anniversary, you know, and that's not anything that we had planned. That's not anything that any newlywed should have to endure.
A harrowing account hoping to bring winds of change to this North Texas county.
And I've had people that, you know, have been totally against it that have reached out and said, because you told your story and because it's hit home to so many, that yes, they are getting vaccinated. And that's my hope, that we continue to save another person.
In the same state, but in many ways a world away, back in Presidio County, Dr. Billings says he hasn't seen a single vaccinated patient wind up in the hospital in recent memory.
I think, you know, it's about trust. It's about building that relationship with your patients and with your communities.
In Texas, Will Carr, ABC News.
And thanks to our Will Carr for that. Well, that does it for this hour. I'm Kira Phillips. Thanks so much for joining us. Remember, ABC News Live is here for you all day with the latest news, context, and analysis. I'll see you back here at the top of the hour and at 3 p.m. Eastern with Terry Moran. Have a great day.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.